Hello and welcome to my first ever YouTube vlog, which is really strange to say and still really awkward. I'm still feeling a bit uncomfortable about just speaking to the camera for a really long period of time, because if you follow me already, you'll know that over on TikTok and Instagram I'm either behind the camera with a voiceover or my clips are usually 90 seconds or less. So this is a bit outside my comfort zone, so bear with me. You might also be wondering why I've got an iPad in front of me, and that's because I'm filming on the phone, but I also wanted something so that I could write down, stick to the subject, because I just waffle. So the purpose of today's video is to discuss relocating our dog from the UK to Dubai. I'm going to go through all the steps that we went through to get to this point, all the commonly asked questions, and hopefully if you're here for information purposes, I'll give you a better insight into what all that entails, what it looked like for Flo, and then maybe you can even meet Flo. Flo? You want to come and see? Hey, and here she is. Is it nice? Dubai girly. So here's the backstory. We had actually bought a house in the UK and the sale fell through last minute, and we actually had a family holiday planned to Dubai in December 2024. And we came out, we had a great time, we'd been here before, and when we got back we were like, should we just move to Dubai? Long story short, everything just happened so quickly, and effectively by March 3rd we were here, living in Dubai. Okay, so first of all, there's two ways that you can get your pet here. The first one is you can do it yourself, and you can educate yourself and you can go through the full process, and in all likelihood you probably will save yourself a bit of cash. Or you can do what we done and use a pet relocation service. Now, personally, I would recommend the pet relocation service for so many different reasons. First of all, you're already moving abroad. You have so much going on, so much on your plate, so much to look into. Take the hassle out of getting your pet here. Make sure that it's all done correctly, because the last thing you want to do is get them here, you've missed something and they have to go all the way back. Or they're put into kennels until you sort your shit out. So I would definitely recommend using the pet relocation service, because they keep you right throughout the full process. They tell you what you need to do, they hold your hand every single step of the way, and they handle the full thing, from doing all your pre-vet checks, your pre-flight checks, to boarding your pet, to getting them door to door. They handle everything, and to be perfectly honest, it's not going to be that much more money from experience to use a pet relocation service than it would be to do it yourself. And as I say, you're just taking out all that stress, and yeah, pet relocation service, would definitely recommend it. There's so many different pet relocation services out there. The company that we used was Possum Pets, who are actually based out here in Dubai, and then they have their like partners. We flew from Edinburgh to Dubai, so they had like a sort of partner there that helped handle everything in the UK, and then it was handed over to them here. But as I say, you don't really need to get involved in that. They have their own partners, they work everything out for you. You just pick the company that you trust and go with them. I had actually reached out to 3 different companies before choosing Possum Pets. The first company, I sent away 2 consultation forms and they never came back to me. That was a Glasgow-based company. The second company referred to Flo as a he, and I know that's really silly, but I just didn't feel at that point they were really that interested in my pet. I know that so insignificant, but I just wanted to feel really reassured, because my pet travel anxiety was through the roof. I was feeling like the worst mum in the world. With Possum Pets, they were the last company I actually spoke to. I went online, and I will link them in the description box below, but I went online, I filled out a consultation form. A few hours later, they contacted me. It was a girl called Kirsty, who I want to say is actually the owner. Might not be, might have just been another girl that worked there, but she gave me full reassurance that Flo would be in very safe hands. This wasn't like a typical sales pitch, here's what we can do for you. This was more along the lines of, you're going to be fine, Flo's going to be fine, we've got this, don't worry about it, we'll keep you updated every step of the way. She made me feel so at ease, and I just knew, I was like, no, this is the company that we are going to go for. It wasn't some sort of money-making scheme. It didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like just another pet travelling. It did feel a bit more personalised. It did feel that they cared about Flo as well as how I was feeling as a pet parent. If you've already started looking into relocating your pet from the UK to Dubai specifically, because this might chop and change from location to location, but certainly this is what I know from relocating a pet from the UK to Dubai. The first thing you might need to know is that there are age and breed restrictions to pets flying. So we were flying Flo with Emirates, for example. You can actually go on and check which breeds that they will not fly. I think some airlines are very strict and have restrictions about flying certain breeds with like maybe short snouts because of, must be their breathing, or they might be overly anxious dogs, or even dogs with maybe like bad temperaments. I'm pretty sure there is a whole load of restrictions, so you can go on and check for yourself to see which dogs they will fly and which are not going to happen. Some airlines will fly different breeds and some won't. So again, if you're using a relocation service, they will be able to keep you right with that, but it's worth going on and having a look for yourself as well. In terms of age, the dogs must be at least 12 weeks old. I don't think there's a restriction in terms of like how old they are, like on the other side of the scale. As long as they're in good health, you will go through like your pre-flight assessment checks, you'll go and see a vet, they'll issue a fit to fly certificate if they think that it's fine for the dog to fly. So they have to go through a full process. Now on to the boring legal documentation stuff. Again, a pet relocation service will help keep you right with that. You don't need to worry about this too much, they handle it all. Okay, but there are mandatory permits and documentation you will need to leave the UK with your pet and then enter the UAE with your pet. First thing is you will need a UAE import permit, and that's issued by the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment. So you can apply for that yourself from the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment website by yourself, but if you're using the service then they would just do all that for you. The other thing you're going to need is an export permit to leave the UK with your pet, and that is usually in the form of like a government authorised vet certificate. So when you do your pre-vet assessment flight checks, which is usually done sort of maybe 2 to 3 days before your pet flies, they will issue that and it'll be stamped and signed, and it goes in with their paperwork for pre-boarding effectively. Another thing worth noting that we almost had an absolute disaster with, because I didn't read the fine print, all your vaccination records for your pet, you must have up to date every single vaccination that they have had to date, including every vaccination they need to enter the UAE. You need to have your vaccination cards. It needs to have like the batch number, the date it's administered, the date it's expired, and your vet's signature on it. So if you're missing part of your record, go to your vet and get a full new one made up, because that is effectively your pet's passport. You hand over your pet to the airline or to the relocation service that's going to board your pet. That, along with their export permit, that's their passport. That's what they need. If they don't have either one of those documents, they're not getting on that flight. So make sure you have that completely correct. You have it to hand physically over to the staff. If you're flying before your pet and maybe they're staying in boarding or with a family member and they're going to be collected and taken to their flight, make sure that they hand over those documents. Oh, another thing they will need to cover their full pet passport is their microchip certificate, which is usually on their vaccination record anyway, but it won't do you any harm to print off a copy of their microchip sort of registration saying that you are the owner. You probably will need that, but you'll probably have to scan that in and send it to the pet transport service before. Once your pet lands in the UAE, you will need a customs clearance and release permit. So there's special places in the airport, I believe, you go to get these permits. The person who collected Flo when she landed in Dubai handled all that for us. So she landed off her flight, the permit was issued, I'm pretty sure she got another check before the permit was issued, and then she was dropped off to us. So I'm going to walk you through our personalised process for flow. So we built in like several different factors to our quote. So quote can vary from person to person if you're using a pet relocation service, because it takes into consideration who you're flying with, first of all, how much your pet's flight ticket's going to cost. Do you need boarding before or after your pet boards the flight? Do you need pet transfers at either end? Do you need them to be taken to the airport, collected from the airport? Obviously it includes all your import and export permits, includes the handling of those and the service itself, and it also includes like things like you need to have like flea and tick and tapeworm treatment before they board the flight. I'm sure it has to be within like a 48-hour window, don't quote me on that, but it is a certain time frame before they board the flight. So that covered that for us as well. And obviously, I don't know if I've said this, the pre-approved vet checks. So she has her own vet, and we've done all the up-to-date vaccinations and things like that before she boarded her flight. But in terms of our pre-flight assessment checks, it wasn't our vet that done that, it was a pre-approved vet through Possum Pets. So they actually collected her the day before, took her to her pre-assessment check where she was given flea and tick and her tapeworm, and then they brought her back to my mum's house where she was staying at the time. So what we done was, because we knew our property in Dubai wasn't going to be ready, we flew to Dubai 3 weeks before flow, and saying goodbye to her was awful. Oh my god, don't cry. She's here now. Oh, I need a drink. Flo had to stay with my mum for 3 weeks until it was time for her to fly. So yeah, our property in Dubai wasn't ready. We were staying in an Airbnb because we had to wait on our Emirates ID, Bill Stevens, being sorted. We didn't know how long it was going to take because there is no set time frame. So we had initially rented our Airbnb for 2 weeks, knowing that we may have to then move again and find another rental. And lots of Airbnbs will accept pets, but we just didn't want all of that hassle and stress of trying to, or be limited to where we could stay, because we also had Flo. And we also knew that we would be out and about, like we had so much to sort, and we didn't want to like leave Flo alone in an apartment or a villa in an unusual place. It was just easier to come across as a family, have Flo stay with my mum, we knew she'd be safe. Yeah, fly her across when we were actually settled in our house. So, before we left the UK, I done everything that I needed to do. I took her to her vets, I got all her like correct vaccinations and things like that. So she had to get there's a whole list of vaccinations that they need, and I'll put that in the description box below, or maybe even on screen. But one of the vaccinations, certainly in Scotland, that isn't administered just along with their, you know, annual or bi-yearly vaccinations, so had our own vet sort of draft up a whole thing saying that she can agree that, you know, this is Flo, she is who she says she is. She does have a microchip. Her microchip number does match what's on her vaccination card. Her vaccinations are all up to date. Here is the expiry of her vaccinations, which were also on the card, but she just almost reiterated that, saying that I was the owner, and also saying that she believed that Flo was a 6-year-old Cocker Spaniel female, she was spayed, and that she agrees that she is fit to fly. So our vet done all that, but that was handed over to our pet relocation service, and then their vet also done their own pre-flight assessment. So it's ultimately up to them to decide if your pet is going to be on that plane or not. Yeah, we done all that before we left the UK, and then Flo stayed with my mum for 3 weeks. The Possum Pets partners in Edinburgh came and collected Flo from my mum's house the day before her flight. They took her for her pre-flight assessment at the vets. She had her flea, tick, tapeworm, and ultimately the vet decided that she was fit to fly, and she was who we said she was. And then she didn't go back to my mum's. That was effectively my mum saying goodbye to her, and she done one night's boarding with, it's actually a member of the the team at Edinburgh. Oh my god, what was the name of that company? So annoying. I can't even remember the name of the lady, but she was amazing. So she works for this partner company. I'll put them in the description box as well. This description box is going to be packing. She effectively boarded Flo in her own flat for one night. We obviously paid additional to board, which is fine, but yeah, she was sending me pictures of Flo just like getting all settled, and I got pictures of Flo in the office the next day before she boarded her flight, and I got pictures of Flo before she was boarding her flight. Oh god, I just remember the anxiety. It was terrible. It did make me feel a little bit better knowing that she was with people that genuinely loved dogs and cared about her. I knew that she was in safe hands. You know, it's difficult because at the same time she's probably still thinking, what is going on? Where's my mum? Why am I in this loud airport, tarmac, whatever, what is happening? We'll get into that in the end, but she was in safe hands, okay? Like, you're probably overthinking it a little bit too much. So yeah, she'd done one night's boarding, she was taken to the airport the next day, and she got another like quick assessment, and then she boarded the flight. And we knew which flight she was getting on, and we knew what time departure was. We were keeping an eye online just to see if the flight was leaving on time. We got a picture of her in her crate waiting to load onto the airplane. Oh my god, I'll see if I can insert it actually, because it's the saddest thing ever. But yeah, she's here now, so you're fine, aren't you? The flight from Edinburgh to Dubai is a nighttime flight, and I thought that would be better because I thought, right, okay, she'll be flying at like 9 o'clock at night right through till she would land at like 8 AM in Dubai, but it would be like 5 AM UK time. But to myself, I'm thinking that's her usual bedtime. Hopefully she just sleeps, hopefully she's a bit tired from everything that's been going on. And I just thought, yeah, she'll sleep. That was my logic. I didn't sleep. I was awake all night. I was literally sitting on Flight Radar like this, watching, like updating, make sure everything was okay, seeing how many thousand feet she was, seeing how long it was till she landed in Dubai. I was awake all night just feeling physically unwell that my dog was on a plane in the sky by herself in the cargo. I don't know if I'm making this any better for you, but that's the truth. I'll go through all this at the end to try and ease some of your concerns, because I'm not doing you any favours. Once you landed in Dubai, the pets are the first off the flight. Okay, before the suitcases, the pets are off and they're taken into the airport. I believe that once they are crated at the departure airport, they are in that crate for I think it's maybe 2 hours before their flight, the flight time, and then maybe a couple of hours after. They are taken for the toilet and things like that before they are crated at the departure airport. So I think they're allowed to have a small meal and like so many hours before they fly, and a small drink, but for obvious reasons you're not meant to give your dog a big meal before they board the flight. It's just small meal, little drink, go to the toilet. They'll take them to the toilet before they board the flight, because it is going to be a long time that they're in the crate for. That's just how it is. Flo landed in Dubai. She was the first off the plane before the suitcases come off. The Possum Pets people met Flo at the airport. They done all her import permit and release certificate. I believe she was checked over again from another vet on site at the airport, and then she was put in the Possum Pets van and brought straight to the house. I wish I could upload that video onto YouTube, but it'll have copyright sound in the background. So if you want to see the video of Flo arriving, please go and follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and those videos are pinned at the top of my profile, because I think it just resonated with so many people. So go and have a look at that, and don't forget to follow me as well. Okay. In terms of your pet flying on the aeroplane, no, they do not go in the hold with the suitcases. There's a separate part of the cargo that pets fly. You can actually go on and have a wee look, like just online, and it'll show you where pets go in the plane compared to suitcases. They're not kept with the suitcases. I do remember someone saying to me, oh yeah, like don't worry about it, they'll be in a separate part of the cargo and there's mood lighting. And at the time, I was like, oh my god, that's so much better, like it'll be nice and calm. And the pilot also has a camera in his cabin to see in that part of the cargo as well, just to make sure like the pets aren't stressed, so he can see that. So at the time I was like, excellent. And then it was actually a few weeks after Flo arrived, I thought, mood lighting, she's flipping a dog, she's colourblind. That dog doesn't know if it's light or night, surely. I don't know. You just don't know, Flo. I also just want to reiterate that your pet does not need to fly on the same day as you. They can fly before, the same time, or after. But for reasons which I've explained, Flo flew after us. Yeah, it just let us get her in our house, it let us get settled. Because she was effectively flying with nothing but the dog crate, it allowed us the time to go and get a dog bed, some new bowls, some new toys, things like that. You can obviously pack that in your suitcase, but yeah, we wanted a new life, we wanted new stuff for her. She had her blanket travel with her and one of her favourite toys travelled with her, but everything else, it was all new, Chloe. It was all new merch. So one of the ways that we really did want to fly Flo, and we would have done if we were absolutely minted, was you can fly your dog private jet. So there's a few companies that will fly your pet private. You can still do it, organise it yourself or through a pet relocation service. It's like 10 grand for a flight ticket. And I think there's only certain parts of the UK that these companies fly. One was London Farnborough Airport. So I've no idea how you actually get there. But basically, your pet can just fly in the cabin with you. So you pay for your flight ticket, and it's a lot of money for a ticket obviously, but there's maybe like a few other families in the cabin with you. So your flight ticket covers one plane seat and your dog's flight fare as well. So only one person from your family can travel, unless you buy another ticket, I guess. But you know, if you're minted, go for it. You also need to register with a vet so that they are going to be getting their regular vaccinations. Obviously, you're going to register your dog with a vet. But what I will say is, please do your research on vets and which ones you're going to use. Registering with doggy daycare in Dubai, I would recommend it, to be honest, if your dog is quite sociable, because especially in the summer months, you're going to have to walk your dog super early or super late to avoid the hottest parts of the day. It's something else to do if they're in doggy daycare, but they do need to go through a bit of a process to register there. They will need a kennel cough vaccine. They do like an assessment check to see how their behaviour is with other dogs. It's quite in depth, but again, I think it just gives you that reassurance that they're not just taking in like bad behaved dogs, and that your dog is going to be in an environment where they're going to thrive and, you know, just have a fun experience and not be scared or putting into bad situations with other animals. So there's so many different doggy daycares. Flo goes to my second home, Dubai, don't you? Although she's not been there for a couple of weeks, mainly because I find it's a bit out of the way for where we stay. But I've recently just discovered they do a doggy daycare bus. So honey, I might send you on the bus. I might send you on the bus with your friends. It just means that she can go more often as well if the bus is picking her up and dropping her off. We're not in Kansas anymore. Life in Dubai for dogs. I won't sugarcoat it. Life in Dubai for dogs is very different. Certainly for Flo it is. She is a very active Cocker Spaniel. She is part Cocker, part Springer, part Mountain Goat, part ADHD child. She is active, loves swimming, full of energy, loves going up the woods and getting really dirty and throwing herself in mucky puddles, ponds, any bodies of water, she's in it. Yes, life is very different for Flo, but we really wanted to be here, and we can't put our life on hold because we do have a pet. As much as she's part of the family and I love her dearly, we couldn't put our life on hold because we have a pet. And we also, like, leaving Flo behind or rehoming her was not an option. It wasn't happening. Even with family, I couldn't have left her behind. I can't imagine the thought of your pet wondering where their mum and dad and family have gone. It actually makes me feel really sad. I couldn't have put her through that. So the thought of putting her through a flight one time was enough. Like, it's one time. Yes, it's going to be stressful for the dog, it's going to be stressful for us, I had so much anxiety about it, but it was a one-off journey, one time to have her here with us. And what I have to say is, for Flo, her home is wherever we are. So, you know, life's very different for Flo, but she's also really happy here. She loves sunbathing. She's still getting walked twice a day. On the weekends, we take her down to the dog beach so that she can run off lead, and she swims for ages. She runs along the beach for hours, she rolls about in the sand. But it is peak summer just now, so we are really limited to times and where we can take her. Because we arrived here in March, Flo sort of beginning of April, it was just starting to get really hot, so I feel like she's not really experienced Dubai properly yet, because there are so many dog friendly cafes, restaurants, walks. It's just too hot for her during the day just now. So I'm thinking by the time October hits, sort of next 6 months, she's going to be living her best life. She really will. But please trust me, she is very happy. She loves lying sunbathing outside in little sun puddles. She loves lying on the tile floor in the aircon. She's still getting good walks, and we do try to let her off lead as much as possible. From personal experience, I wouldn't go to a dog park again unless there was no other dogs in the dog park, because often I've found that there are some bigger dogs, or even smaller dogs to be fair, and it's quite often not the family walking the dogs, it's maybe the nannies, or they might have a maid that's walking the dogs, and the dog is often not well socialised, and the nanny or maid don't really know how to handle the dog, and it's resulted in Flo being bitten, Flo being put in really dangerous situations with like a large breed like the husky it was, so where the nanny just couldn't get the dog under control. The dog parks are great, especially the ones with the like agility courses in them, but please go when it's free to use and there aren't lots of dogs in there. So the last thing I'm going to talk about before I wrap up this video, because I've been rambling on for ages, is dealing with anxiety about relocating your dog. So I've obviously touched on this throughout most of the points, but it is a stressful thing to relocate your dog. Not because the process is stressful, because I didn't find it was, because we had someone handling that for us, keeping us right every step of the way, but the thought of moving Flo from everything she knew to somewhere completely new, I found quite stressful. I had quite a lot of anxiety about it. I was worried about her anxiety levels going on an aircraft with all these new loud noises. Come here, Flo. Come here. Beauty. Yeah, tell everyone about your plane journey. Yeah, so I was really anxious about Flo and how she would be feeling on an aircraft with, you know, like all these strange noises, and you know what it's like yourself. It must be so strange for a dog. Flo's scared of fireworks, but it was a one-off Flo, wasn't it? And I felt like the worst dog mum in the world. But if you go and watch that video that I've shown you, Flo came bouncing off the back of that van. See, when the man opened the doors and she's seen us, we were standing at the other side of those doors, her face, so you know it was possible, but her face literally lit up. She was like, oh my god, what are you doing here? Where are you? You were. We're so happy to see you. The first 3 weeks living here without her was very tough. It didn't feel right. I was actually quite depressed, to be honest, because I just missed her so much, and I was also just dreading the fact that our flight was upcoming. But you love it. You love it, don't you? You're fine. You're just happy to be with your family, aren't you? And I've said that I'm going to be a multi-millionaire next year, and I'm going to fly you back to the UK for summer on a private jet. That's what I'm going to do for you. So yes, that is I think everything I've covered. I hope I've not missed anything. No doubt I probably have. So if you have any questions at all about relocating your pet from the UK to the UAE, please drop them in the comments. I'll do my very best to answer. And what else? Yeah, please go and check out Flo's arriving in Dubai video over on my TikTok and Instagram. Don't forget to follow me there, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more Dubai tips, information. Yeah, follow me here because that's where I'll be doing all my in-depth chats. Also, let me know in the comments if there's anything else you would like to know about relocating from the UK to the UAE. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you, bye!